Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining our webinar. I am Xiang Li from the University of Glasgow Adam Smith Business School. I am currently Senior Lecturer in Management and Professional Development and also Associate Director of Development, looking after the portfolio development for our professional education programs.
Okay, and I'm John Finch. I'm a Professor of Marketing at the Adam Smith Business School. And I'm also one of the investigators for our Financial Regulation Innovation Lab, and been involved in this project since its inception, and particularly interested in the ESG part of today's presentation. Okay, so I've mentioned about recording. I'll just share our presentation. And this should take us around half an hour to go through, and then really looking forward to some discussion after that. Welcome to ask any questions through chat, for example, as we go along, and we'll address those as we go or towards the end of this afternoon's meeting. So the agenda for this afternoon, we'll talk briefly about the Financial Regulation Innovation Lab and skills development, how we wish to develop skills and present programs that provide executive and professional learning. We'll also talk about the specific programs ESG, AI and RegTech, and mention discussion of professional education that we offer at University of Glasgow, and we'll invite colleagues from Strathclyde as well to summarise the approach there. So I'll begin with an introduction to the Financial Regulation Innovation Lab. In the first instance, this is a project funded by Innovate UK, and it's part of the UK government's Levelling Up agenda. It's an innovation accelerator. Over £30 million was presented, made available for bids to Glasgow City region for innovation acceleration, and this is one of 9 projects that were funded. It's a collaboration between FinTech Scotland, University of Strathclyde, and the University of Glasgow, and we're all represented here. And our purpose is to establish Glasgow, the city region, as a globally recognised centre of excellence in financial regulation, drawing on universities, industry, FinTech Scotland, and the ecosystem. So some information here about FinTech Scotland. It's a cluster organisation. This line here is particularly important because our project team comprises colleagues from FinTech Scotland, obviously, Strathclyde, Glasgow, and also we work quite closely with the Financial Conduct Authority across our projects. FinTech Scotland is a award-winning accredited cluster organisation, cluster management organisation, which is particularly impressive at a European level across all sectors. I think also we should emphasise that the universities of Strathclyde and Glasgow are among the 1% of business schools in the world that have significant triple accreditation, part of the Financial Times rankings. And I think as a city, it's particularly impressive that we've got 2 such excellent universities and business schools engaged in this project. The Frill project has a long-standing plan to deliver across 4 work streams. Actionable research, which we'll touch on today, and there's some actionable research underpinning the work that we're doing here. We're also looking at skills and education. Sorry, move those on. We're looking at skills and education, mainly today. We have an extensive knowledge exchange program, of which this webinar is an example. And we have a series of innovation calls where we bring together our lead financial services companies and a range of fintech companies to develop innovative commercial propositions to resolve a number of innovation challenges. The challenges are linked to these key themes, which have driven the whole project: simplifying compliance, ESG, environmental social governance, which is in effect sustainability. We'll be moving on soon to address in great detail consumer duty and financial inclusion, and also addressing and countering financial crime. These are key areas that underpin our project. Underpinning this is the FinTech Research and Innovation Roadmap that FinTech Scotland developed. This came from the Khalifa Review into enhancing the competitiveness of FinTech and financial services in the UK. And through the extensive consultation underpinning the roadmap, we identified those 4 themes as priorities, or rather the industry identified those 4 themes as priorities, which we have built upon in the current project. The research capabilities that we draw upon across our universities that underpin and contribute to this project are, as you can see in front of us, a wide range, and we are interdisciplinary in that which we do. We draw together finance, entrepreneurship, strategy, quantum, areas of engineering, law, some of the interesting developments in Earth intelligence, Earth observation, which we're bringing through into the project as well. So there's a whole range of intellectual contributions that we draw together to inform the project. Okay, I'm going to hand over to Shang now as co-lead of this skills development theme in our project.
Thanks, John. So let's now take a step back to look at skills development and lifelong learning as a whole. Skill developments can deliver clear benefits to both individuals and organizations. For individuals, the skill development can help them update their current skills and knowledge, acquire new skills, capabilities, enhance their performance, make them work more effectively, which ultimately will make the individuals become more popular to their current and future employers. And this will translate into their higher salaries and better career prospects. For employers, skills needs in financial services is continuously changing. In fact, has changed an average of 25% since 2015 in the UK. Investing in their workforce skills development will increase organizations' productivity, drive innovation, enhance employee engagement, and reduce employee turnover. Engaged employees are more likely to go above and beyond. They're more collaborative, innovative, and more invested in customer outcomes. And all of this benefits the company. So what are the drivers behind this demand for skills development from the external point of view? First of all, technological development. Fast-changing technological development driven by Industrial Revolution 4.0 has changed the nature of work, where we work, how we work, and what we're working on. According to a recent report, between 10 and 35% of the current jobs will be placed in the next 20 years. New jobs will be created and others becoming obsolete. So the landscape of the skills and knowledge required to fulfill this evolving job market will continue to change at a very fast speed, creating skill gaps in the global economy. Skills development is therefore the key to adapt to this rapid change, creating both personal and organizational competitive advantage and sustainable growth. Second, net zero transition. Businesses have the responsibility for social and ecological challenges. As we're moving towards an environmentally sustainable economy, there's an increasing demand for new skills around greener practices. PwC's latest analysis of job vacancy data has suggested a growing industry skill gaps in this field. It finds that the total number of green job vacancies has dramatically increased from around 5,000 in 2020 to around 17,000 in 2023. So you can see the green knowledge and skills are in huge demand. The third driver is around aging population. So people live longer and their working life is hugely extended. The knowledge that was acquired by people will not fully suffice the rest of their working life. lifelong learning become very important to the learners. Apart from these drivers, you can also see changing customer behaviors, new products and services, policy and regulation are other key drivers that's behind the skill development agenda. John, can you move on to the next slide, please? As a key pillar in FRIL, our skill stream works to address industry skill gaps, offer just-in-time and on-demand skill development courses, upskill and reskill workforce, and support financial regulation innovation. One caveat I would like to highlight at this stage is that financial services industry is in a unique position right now, because on one hand, they require their employees to have the knowledge, skills, and capabilities to execute processes and comply with regulations. And on the other hand, they need to innovate new products and services to attract new customers. In this context, we use these 5 principles to guide our skills development work. First, demand-led. All our skills offerings are led by demand in the industry, and this demand needs to be endorsed by the industry representatives. We have an industry steering group and skill subgroup in the FRIL governance. They give us the feedback to our proposed skill courses, both in terms of the target audience and the direction of the courses. This helps us greatly in terms of making sure the courses we're developing are addressing the industry's real demand. Second, evidence-based. We collate evidence from a variety of sources and triangulate them to validate our proposal on developing a specific course. These courses include industry reports, skill reports, contacts of FRIL strategic partners, and the FinTech community. In particular, we're focusing on the future skills that are not only new themselves, but also the demand for them is growing rapidly. Third, partnership enabled. Our skill team work closely with FinTech Scotland and Strathclyde Business School colleagues on developing just-in-time and in-demand skills program. We identify opportunities and feed them into each other to ensure a coherent development of short courses under FRIL. Fourth, industry facilitated. We work very closely with key members in the industry and involve them in the course development phase. These members offer us use cases, guest lectures, and best practices to help us enrich our course offerings. Last but not the least, the focus of our skill stream is to align with innovation calls and actionable research. Insights and findings from those innovation calls and actionable research can feed into our skills work stream. And our skills development program can then help address the challenges identified from the innovation calls and actionable research. Next slide, please. So following this logic, our FRIL approach to skill development in terms of the areas of focus will be closely aligned to the topics of our innovation course and actionable research. They cover AI and compliance, ESG, consumer duty, and addressing financial crime. At the moment, both our business school and Strathclyde Business School colleagues are prioritizing our work on developing courses around AI in compliance and also ESG. I'm going to give an overview on these courses in the later section in the later part of today's session. So in terms of the output of our skills development programs, we mainly develop short courses and micro-credentials. So short courses, as it says on the tin, they last between 2 and 6 weeks, usually take place on campus. By the end of the course, learners will receive a certificate of participation. The next output of our skill development program is micro-credentials. For people who are not familiar with this term, micro-credentials are short courses that are credit-bearing. So learners will be given the opportunity to collect academic credits and stack them towards a higher qualification. Micro-credential has gaining traction in both UK and in EU in terms of that learning space, and they are very effective in terms of addressing industry skill gaps in a very agile way. We understand not everyone has the time to undertake courses, and therefore we also publish blogs and organize webinars and events to offer learners with informal learning. And last but not the least, we also act as catalysts to engage with industry and support their talent pipeline recruitment. Next slide, please. I'll hand over to you, John.
Thank you, Shang. Some of the underlying principles of how we organize our work here is in recognition that learners coming onto our programs will have considerable experience, which they bring into our programs, and at the same time, the content of what we deliver being influenced by demand is important that we take back into organizations so that we provide ideas, concepts, tools, techniques that can be rapidly applied. So we offer professional and executive education, perhaps the distinction being that professional education is at an earlier career stage, still with work experience and still with the expectation that where we are discussing and promoting ideas, these are applied easily and rapidly. At the same time, executive education could be for more senior colleagues with longer experience and perhaps higher levels of managerial or organizational responsibility. Nevertheless, drawing on experience becomes a critical feature there as well. So our view is that learners bring expertise and experience individually and from groups and from their own organizations and from their professions into our courses and take reflection of that back into their work. We're not simply redesigning the sorts of materials that we develop on our undergraduate programs, although there's clearly a synergy here. A lot of the work that we've done within our ESG steering group of employers and with the skills group has also emphasized that there are a number of overlays here. With ESG, for example, we're dealing with a number of professional groups who work with respect to that professional identity in their own organizations. There's an emerging profession of sustainability, for example, who are typically charged with preparing ESG reporting, but that will need to be working with compliance, with risk, with finance, with procurement. So that professional element is really an important thing for us to recognize and is a key differentiator than the education that we would deliver with our undergraduate and pre-experienced master's students, perhaps even our MBA students. This is a much higher level of interaction and embeddedness, in other words. We know our learners expect enhanced problem solving, that we contribute to their higher levels of performance and rapid application. These are, in other words, cognitive or behavioral things that we take from our courses into the context of work. At the same time, though, we also want to emphasize that our program delivery will support reflective and experiential learning. There's been some work done on thinking fast and thinking slow, for example, and maybe that's the sort of thing we want to be doing. And that's our contribution here as universities that can support workplace learning. So the reflective and the experiential means that we recognize people bring in their own personal contexts. And that when you're reflecting on performance, this can also add, in addition to the cognitive and the behavioral, i.e. the knowledge-based and the new actions, it can also add kind of emotional points. When we're reflecting on things that work well or perhaps didn't work so well and bringing those into the classroom as examples of how things are going in the worlds of ESG application or introducing AI or generative AI into RegTech, we need to be able to reflect on that as well. In addition to that, we know that people have already acquired high levels of skills, and a lot of research is being undertaken at the moment, which shows how these skills can become habits. These habits enable quick working in an organizational setting, but can sometimes need a little bit of reflecting and unpicking in the context of the classes that we are organizing and operating. So there's a kind of cognitive loop that we're trying to introduce into the design of our learning. It's not self-evident that we can find problems and issues, although we put in a huge amount of work with our employer groups. And drawing on that experience and taking it back into the concepts, drawing on the experience that people take into the class and into their place of work and bring back into our learning become quite important. So we work over fairly focused time periods, as Xiang mentioned, but there is time for us to reflect on how it's going, how these have worked, how these have been brought together. The experiential and reflective captures some of the fintech experience here as well. There's a lot of really interesting work on entrepreneurship and how you learn about entrepreneurship, perhaps countering the ideas that entrepreneurship isn't simply made, that there is a huge amount of tradition of work and research and teaching around entrepreneurship, which can enhance its performance. And working within larger financial services organizations, the view is perhaps of intrapreneurship, of people who are interested in organizational change, of introducing ideas around ESG from a sustainability point of view, which, as initial work in this area is suggesting, also implies an element of organizational change that we're capturing from the work we're doing with employers. So sure, people are going to be working in teams. They're going to be working in with countering perhaps negative and positive emotions, as well as getting behavioral and content-based work into our teaching. And we're trying to activate and intensify some of this. We're trying to kind of use language. We're trying to use labels, small wins, what worked, what didn't, why didn't this work? How is that working? How do you put sustainability in the context of risk? How do you put impressive computing innovation in the context of business strategy, for example? All these are areas which help us shape our learning that we are trying to develop and introduce in our design. Once you're in work, we realize that this is highly adaptive and that all of these things come together. And the advantage of coming on a course such that we do is that you can kind of just step back a little bit, maybe break these into different components, behaviors, cognitions, emotions, and then rebundle them ready to go again once returning into work. As I say, we're drawing on up-to-date current research in entrepreneurship education and executive education. One of the things that underlies this is perhaps the learning schemas, and this is perhaps where our understanding of the professions that people bring into our courses matter as much as the organizations and the teams. What are those kind of deep assumptions, those core kind of ways of seeing the world that kind of overlay how you're going to respond to our learning materials? Are you going to be looking at a risk assessment? Are you going to be looking at sustainability and engagement? Are you going to be concerned more with your supply chain? What are the sorts of techniques that dominate there, and how can we bring that into a mixing zone where we can begin to reflect upon working across as well as within these traditions? So these schemas are kind of deeply held, and we realize we're working to adapt these rather than introduce brand new ones. So our professional and executive education, yeah, of course, the now knowledge is really important. But at the same time, the reflection is also really important that we wish to bring in. And that reflection involves encountering the entrenched and habitual expertise and the emotions about what's worked and what hasn't worked and why not. We recognize our learning is active and social, and we'll draw some of that through in the classroom and through some of the tasks that we will bring in, some of the assessments that we will bring in. And again, some of this recognizes that, yeah, the flexibility that we wish to introduce, the next step, if you like, from where people are as they come into our programs. Sure, there's going to be an element of assimilation, but also of tuning. Maybe restructuring is a bit ambitious, and perhaps that's at an extreme end that we probably won't go to. But it does kind of show you what the array of where these adaptations are with respect to our learning and where we're positioning ourselves. Again, drawing on difference will be critical. Differences in professions and different subject backgrounds, differences in learning schemas help us do the sense making and sense offering that we're really interested in. So as a summary, what we're interested in with our courses is bringing flexibility, team working across disciplines. And I think the AI and the ESG both make this imperative. I'll hand over to Xiang now.
Can I have the next slide? Thank you. So after John telling you about the course design, let's look at some of the courses we are currently developing at the Adam Smith Business School for the field project. The first one is around ESG leadership, how to leverage ESG to achieve organizational competitive advantage. So this course target audience is really for people who want to move into sustainability roles in the financial ecosystem, functional managers in the financial institutions, and also professionals from fintech companies. This course will take a practical application approach to ESG integration into organizational practices. It will introduce regulatory compliance, supply chain auditing, ESG data and analytics, leadership and innovation practices as it relate to financial services, fintechs, and relevant business ecosystem. A key feature of this course is in combining regulatory and compliance questions with strategic development and leadership. In terms of the course structure breakdown, you can see we have 6 modules that we're going to offer, ranging from ESG introduction through to ESG innovation and leadership. The first module, ESG introduction, will introduce the key concepts within ESG and how they relate to the overall and day-to-day practices within the firm. The second module will look at integrating ESG into organizational practices, particularly concerning social and governance practices within operational structures. The third module looking at risk assessment and compliance, understanding the regulatory landscape. In terms of the procurement and supply chain, this module will break down the processes of auditing a supply chain, what to look for, and how to overcome challenges that arise. For the module on analytics and investment, we're looking at assessment of existing data providers and how to gauge the data validity and usefulness that are provided by the third-party data providers. The final module is pretty much going to address innovation, concerns of greenwashing, diversity, and decision-making. So this is an element that will elevate all the previous learnings to a strategic level to look at ESG and how to leverage ESG to achieve the company's competitive advantage. Next slide, please. Our course, ESG course, is going to be delivered over 6 weeks and in a blended mode. This means that between week 1 and 6, there will be self-directed learning, whereby learners can access the learning materials at any time, anywhere, and at their own pace. This flexibility will help professionals to fit their learning into their busy schedule. At the end of the course, we will also organize a face-to-face session to consolidate learners' learning and also offer learners opportunity to discuss and apply their learning in a real business case environment. This course we're currently planning to deliver in autumn 2024. If you're interested in signing up to the course, please send me a note of interest through this email address. Next slide, please. The second short course we are currently developing is AI and RegTech. So you can see there are 6 modules being presented here. Different from the ESG leadership course, this one is going to be fully face-to-face. Each session will comprise 1 seminar and 1 tutorial. Seminar 1 will introduce the fundamental concepts of artificial intelligence applications in regulatory technology. Seminar 2 will address the growing complexity of financial regulation and its implications for regulatory compliance. Seminar 3 is looking at the law and regulation of RegTech, so examining the legal and regulatory frameworks for AI applications in RegTech. Seminar 4, look at law technology foundation of AI in RegTech. And it will introduce fundamental concepts such as ethical and responsible AI adoption. Seminar 5 explores practical challenges and limitations faced by organizations in ensuring trustworthy AI adoption. And the final seminar will look ahead to future trends and innovations in the RegTech space, preparing participants for ongoing challenges in the field, but also encourage them for innovations in this topic. Can I come to the next slide? So as I mentioned, this course is going to be delivered face-to-face on campus. It will last 6 weeks. Each week you will have one seminar followed by a tutorial. So there's plenty interaction between peers and also your interaction with the lecturers. We're planning to deliver this course in October 2024. Again, we are currently welcoming a note of interest to send to my email address, and then we can follow up on the further registration. Next slide. So at our Adam Smith Business School, in addition to the 2 courses, we're currently developing specifically in the context of FRAIL. We also offer other professional education programs that are suitable for learners in the financial services ecosystem. So in terms of micro-credentials that have credit-bearing nature, we offer change management, project management, leading successful teams, and business analytics. We also offer very short courses that last usually around 3 to 4 weeks time, and that's self-directed learning. We focus on MBA essentials and AI for project managers. Next slide. As I mentioned earlier, we work closely with University of Strathclyde Business School on developing a coherent suite of skills development programs. So here is one course that our colleague Christine, who is also on the call, the course that the Strathclyde Business School is offering around AI literacy. I would welcome Christine to come on the call and then maybe give people a brief overview of the course, either now or in the later discussion session. Christine, let me know.
Yep, thanks, Zhang. So we're working to offer a suite of AI literacy courses from AI Curious, so a very beginner level, just understanding how AI has developed, talking about generative AI, the functionality, and then moving. So participants can start off at AI Curious and work their way through to Explorer, Enthusiast, or Expert, or they can actually dip in at the level which is suitable for them. So if they've already got a broad understanding of AI and generative AI and they're an enthusiast, they can start at that level. Each of the elements of this of these literacy modules are worth 10 credits. And then we also have an AI for execs. So we thought that it would be important to produce an AI course for executive level members, particularly because if they understand the functionality of AI and generative AI and the benefits of implementation properly in their business systems, the risks and the controls, then that engenders trust from the executive level, and then it helps to improve the buy-in across the organisation to improve their competitive advantage as well. So that is essentially what we are working on developing at the moment. Thank you, Zhang. I'll hand you back.
Thank you, Christine. So hopefully by now we have offered you a good overview on the progress we have made in terms of the skills workstream under FRAIL. If you are a learner interested in signing up to one of our courses or all of them, ideally, or you are from an organization who want to work with our skills team across Strathclyde and Glasgow University Business School, and then we welcome the opportunity to hear from you and discuss how we can work together. So thank you very much, and I think we are ready to move into the Q&A session. Hand over.